Commander Arya Phoenix had spent 15 years exploring the farthest reaches of known space, but nothing in her experience had prepared her for what she found in the Sigma Nebula's heart. Her research vessel, the Stellar Horizon, drifted silently through the cosmic dust as proximity alerts blared through the command center. "Unknown vessel detected," announced Iris, the ship's AI. "Structural integrity at 12%. No conventional life signs detected, but there are unusual energy signatures emanating from within." Arya's fingers danced across the holographic controls, bringing up detailed scans. The vessel before them was unlike anything in their database. Its hull seemed to be grown rather than constructed, with organic curves that defied traditional engineering. More concerning were the obvious signs of weapons fire that had torn through its biometallic skin. "Prepare for emergency boarding," Arya commanded, her dark eyes fixed on the dying ship. "And Iris? Update our stealth protocols. Whatever did this might still be nearby." The boarding team consisted of Arya and her two most trusted crew members, Zara Ven, a former military medic whose cybernetic enhancements made her invaluable in crisis situations, and Kai Nomura, their xenobiologist whose passion for the unknown occasionally bordered on reckless curiosity. As they crossed the void between ships in their environmental suits, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to step into something bigger than a simple rescue mission. The damaged vessel's entry point had already been breached, making their boarding easier but also more ominous. "These blast patterns," Zara observed, running her augmented hand over the torn metal. "They're consistent with Harvester weapons. We shouldn't be here, Commander." The Harvester Collective was notorious throughout the galaxy, a group of sophisticated pirates who specialized in collecting rare species for wealthy collectors. That they might be involved made Arya even more determined to investigate. The interior of the alien ship was bathed in a soft, pulsing light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. As they moved deeper into the vessel, their suit sensors detected increasing levels of crystalline resonance. "Commander," Kai called out, his voice tight with excitement. "These readings, they're off the charts. This ship, it's not just carrying crystalline technology, it's symbiotic with it." They found the first body in what appeared to be the ship's control center. The alien was humanoid in basic shape, but its body was composed entirely of living crystal, now shattered and dark. Arya had heard rumors of such beings, the Lumini, a species so advanced they had evolved beyond organic matter into living crystal, capable of processing pure energy as sustenance. "Life signs," Zara suddenly announced. "Faint, but present. Below us." They followed the signal to a sealed chamber that pulsed with a weak but steady light. Kai worked quickly to decipher the door's controls, and when it finally slid open, they all stood in stunned silence. Floating in a field of pure energy were three infant Lumini, their crystalline bodies barely formed, still translucent and glowing with inner light. Around them, the remains of what must have been their protectors lay shattered, having given their lives to shield the children. "They're in stasis," Kai whispered, scanning the infants. "But the field is failing. Without intervention, they won't survive another hour." Arya knew the implications of what they'd found. The Lumini were considered living art by wealthy collectors across the galaxy. A single adult specimen could buy a small planet. Infants, with their ability to be shaped during development, would be priceless. The decision that would change her life forever took less than a second to make. "Zara, prep the medical bay. Kai, figure out how to safely transport them. Iris," she activated her ship's comm, "initiate Protocol Omega. As of this moment, our research mission is suspended indefinitely." "Commander," Kai said hesitantly, "if these are who I think they are, the Harvesters will never stop looking for them." Arya watched the infant Lumini pulse gently in their failing stasis field, their light dimming with each moment. In their crystalline forms, she could see the reflection of stars, the promise of entire universes. "Then we'll have to make sure they never find them," she said firmly. Iris, set course for the Outer Rim. And send word to my old contacts in the Resistance. We're going to need help. As they carefully extracted the stasis field generator and its precious cargo, Aria's mind was already racing with plans. She had spent her career studying the unknown, but now she would have to become something else entirely, not just an explorer or a scientist, but a guardian. And somewhere out there, the Harvester Collective was already beginning their hunt. The stellar horizon vanished into the nebula's swirling clouds, leaving behind a dead ship and a mystery that would soon set the galaxy ablaze. In the medical bay, 3 small beings of living crystal dreamed their ancient dreams, unaware that their survival would soon challenge the very foundations of interstellar law and kindle a fire of protection in the heart of their unlikely human guardian. The stellar horizon's engine core hummed at barely detectable levels as it drifted through the asteroid field at the edge of the Outer Rim. 6 weeks had passed since the rescue, and Commander Aria Phoenix had transformed her research vessel into a floating fortress of secrets. Energy signature check complete, Iris reported. The containment chamber's modifications are holding steady. Luminescence levels are up 12% from yesterday. Aria stood before the reinforced observation window, watching the 3 infant Lumini float in their newly constructed habitat. The chamber itself was a marvel of improvised engineering, a collaboration between Kai's xenobiological expertise and Zara's military engineering background. They had converted the ship's auxiliary research bay into a crystalline nursery, replicating the precise energy frequencies found in the original stasis field. "They're getting stronger," Kai noted, joining her at the window. His usual excited demeanor had been tempered by weeks of constant vigilance. "The oldest one especially, watch how it manipulates the light." The largest of the 3 infants was indeed creating complex patterns with its internal light, sending ripples of color through its crystalline form that the others tried to mimic. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, and terribly dangerous. Each display of growth made them more detectable to sophisticated scanning systems. "Status report on our pursuers?" Aria asked, though she already knew the answer. Iris monitored all channels constantly. 3 harvester vessels detected in the Carina sector, the AI responded. "They're maintaining their search pattern." Additionally, 7 independent bounty hunter ships have been logged responding to the new collection opportunity posting. The bounty for information about surviving Lumini specimens had reached astronomical levels. Aria had seen the figures herself, enough credits to buy a small fleet of starships. Her old contacts in the Resistance had confirmed her fears. The Harvester Collective was treating this as a matter of pride now, not just profit. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. "Commander," Zara's voice came through the intercom, "our guest has arrived." "They're docking now." Aria straightened her uniform. This meeting could determine their future, and she couldn't afford to show any weakness. "Kai, continue monitoring the infants. Any changes, any at all, you contact me immediately." The docking bay was pressurized and eerily quiet when Aria arrived. The ship that had just docked was unmarked, its design deliberately forgettable. Its pilot, however, was anything but. Ambassador Clara of the Sylph Confederation emerged from the airlock with characteristic grace. The Sylph were known for their diplomatic neutrality and their unique ability to process multiple dimensions of information simultaneously, making them either powerful allies or dangerous enemies. "Commander Phoenix," Clara's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a trait of her species. "Your message was intriguing. Though I must admit, the risk you've taken in contacting me is considerable." "The risk of doing nothing was greater," Aria responded, leading the ambassador toward the secure conference room. "What I'm about to show you will explain why." As they walked, Clara's multifaceted eyes took in every detail of the ship. "You've modified your energy signature dampeners. Military grade. And these corridor configurations, designed to be collapsed at a moment's notice. You've turned a research vessel into quite the fortress. The conference room's security protocols engaged automatically as they entered. Arya activated the secure holographic display, showing the ambassador live footage from the nursery. Clara's normally fluid movements stopped completely. By the void, she whispered, a rare display of emotion for a sylph. The rumors were true. Living Lumini infants. The last of their kind, as far as we know, Arya confirmed. The Harvester Collective destroyed their colony. We found them in a damaged escape vessel. You understand what you're asking? Clara's many eyes fixed on Arya. The Sylph Confederation has maintained neutrality in Harvester affairs for centuries. To aid you would risk dash. With respect, Ambassador, Arya interrupted, neutrality in the face of genocide isn't neutrality at all. The Harvesters aren't just collecting specimens anymore. They're eliminating entire species that refuse to be catalogued and controlled. She brought up another hologram, surveillance footage of Harvester ships attacking civilian vessels, of rare species being preserved through forced extinction. The Lumini weren't just any species. They were keepers of knowledge, of histories beyond our comprehension. And now these 3 infants are all that remain. If the Harvesters find them. Clara moved closer to the hologram of the nursery, her form shifting through multiple dimensional states as she processed the information. These infants, they're already developing quantum resonance patterns. Even at this age, their potential for processing and storing information is remarkable. Which is exactly why they need protection, Arya pressed. The Sylph Confederation has the resources, the diplomatic channels we need. Help us create a sanctuary, somewhere even the Harvesters won't dare to touch. The ambassador was silent for a long moment, her form rippling with calculations and possibilities. Finally, she turned to Arya. The Confederation cannot officially involve itself in this matter. Before Arya could protest, she continued, however, as an individual with certain connections, I may be able to arrange something. But you must understand, Commander, this path you've chosen will make you enemies far beyond the Harvester Collective. A sudden alert from Iris interrupted them. Commander, priority alert. Long-range sensors have detected a Harvester scout ship entering the sector. Arya was already moving. How long until they're in scanning range? 17 minutes at current velocity. Ambassador, Arya turned to Clara, I need your answer now. Are you with us? Clara's form stabilized, resolving into her most formal configuration. Send me the coordinates for the sanctuary protocol. I will make the necessary arrangements. But Commander? Her voice took on a resonance Arya had never heard before. What you're protecting isn't just the last of a species. If my readings are correct, those infants carry within them the entire recorded history of their civilization. They are, in essence, living libraries of a dead world. As if to emphasize her words, a soft pulse of light emanated from the nursery, visible even through the ship's reinforced walls. The infant Lumini were growing stronger, and with each passing day, the weight of their inheritance, and the importance of their survival, became clearer. Arya Phoenix had started this journey as a scientist seeking knowledge. Now, she was becoming something else, a guardian of history, a protector of legacy, and perhaps, the catalyst for a revolution that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy's power structure. The Harvester scout ship drew closer, unaware that its discovery would set in motion events that would change the course of interstellar history forever. The secure bunker beneath the ice plains of Europa wasn't listed on any official maps. 3 months after their first encounter with Ambassador Clara, the Stellar Horizons crew had transformed this forgotten research outpost into their temporary sanctuary. Lieutenant Kai Nomura's breath fogged in the cold air as he monitored the Lumini infant's growth chamber. The crystalline beings had nearly doubled in size, their internal light patterns growing more complex by the day. The oldest one, which they'd started calling Nova, had begun forming distinct geometric patterns within its structure. Energy absorption rates are exceeding all previous models, he reported to Commander Phoenix, who stood beside the chamber with dark circles under her eyes. They're not just surviving, Arya. They're thriving. Arya nodded, but her attention was on the tactical display showing their perimeter defenses. And getting harder to hide. Those energy signatures might as well be a beacon to the right scanners. The door hissed open as Zara entered, her cybernetic implants glowing faintly in the dim light. We've got movement in the Kuiper belt. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace, signatures match known Harvester auxiliaries. They're getting closer, Arya muttered. Iris, status report on the sanctuary preparations? The AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Ambassador Clara's last transmission indicated the facility will be ready in approximately 2 standard weeks. However, recent intelligence suggests the Harvester Collective has infiltrated multiple diplomatic channels. A sudden pulse of light from the growth chamber drew everyone's attention. Nova, the eldest Lamini infant, had pressed itself against the transparent barrier, its crystalline form creating patterns they'd never seen before. Kai, Arya's voice was tense, what's it doing? The xenobiologist rushed to his instruments. These patterns, they're not random. There's a structure to them, almost like Dash. Language, a new voice interrupted. Ambassador Clara materialized from seemingly nowhere, her multidimensional form condensing into visible space. They're trying to communicate. The security alerts blared immediately at the unauthorized presence, but Arya waved them off. Ambassador? We weren't expecting you for another week. Circumstances have changed. Clara moved closer to the chamber, her form shifting through multiple states of matter. The Harvester Collective has made an unprecedented move. They've petitioned the Galactic Council for official salvage rights to all Lamini artifacts and specimens. They can't do that, Zara protested. The Lamini were a sovereign species. Were being the operative word, Clara's voice carried an edge of bitterness. According to their petition, since no adult Lamini have been confirmed to survive, the species is officially extinct. Everything that remains is considered salvage under interstellar law. Nova's light patterns intensified, and to everyone's amazement, the other 2 infants began mimicking the display. The chamber filled with complex geometric shapes that seemed to dance through multiple dimensions. They understand us, Kai whispered, his instruments forgotten. They've been learning our language, our patterns, this whole time. Arya stepped closer to the chamber. Can they understand what's happening? The danger they're in? More than understand, Clara moved her form through several dimensions at once, analyzing the patterns. They're showing us something. Commander, these aren't just random survivals of their species. These infants, they were chosen. The patterns they're displaying, they're access keys to the entire Lamini database of knowledge. The implications hit Arya like a physical blow. The colony attack wasn't random. The Harvesters knew exactly what they were after. Correct, Clara's form stabilized. The Lamini were the greatest repository of knowledge in known space. Their crystalline forms could store and process information in ways our technology can't begin to approach. These infants aren't just survivors, they're living libraries containing the accumulated wisdom of 1,000 generations. A new alarm cut through the chamber. Multiple ships detected entering the solar system, Iris announced. Signatures match known Harvester command vessels. Estimated time to weapons range, 3 hours. Arya's mind raced through options. The sanctuary wasn't ready. Their defenses, while considerable, wouldn't hold against a full Harvester assault. They needed time, but more than that, they needed leverage. Ambassador, she turned to Clara, how quickly can you get a message to the Galactic Council? Nearly instantaneously, through the right channels. Why? Because we're about to change the game. Arya moved to the main console, her fingers flying over the controls. If the harvesters want to use laws and treaties, let's give them a taste of their own medicine. Iris, prepare a full-spectrum broadcast. Ambassador, I need you to witness and verify what's about to happen. Commander, Zara stepped forward, what are you planning? Aria's eyes never left the Lumini infants, their lights now pulsing in perfect synchronization. We're going to give them exactly what they asked for, proof of living, sentient Lumini citizens. And then we're going to make the biggest diplomatic incident this galaxy has seen in a century. Nova pressed against the chamber wall again, its pattern shifting into something that looked remarkably like a smile. For the first time since this began, Aria smiled back. The harvesters had started this thinking they were dealing with rare specimens, valuable collectibles. They were about to learn they'd picked a fight with something far more dangerous, a species fighting for survival, protected by humans who had nothing left to lose. The battle for the Lumini's future was about to begin, and Aria Phoenix intended to make it one the galaxy would never forget. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations watched as Commander Aria Phoenix stood before them, her holographic projection steady despite the battle raging outside Europa's atmosphere. The evidence is clear, she declared, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. The Lumini infants are not specimens or salvage. They are living, sentient beings capable of complex communication and self-awareness. Behind her, another hologram showed Nova and its siblings creating intricate patterns of light and geometry, translating complex mathematical theorems into visible form. The display was being broadcast across all known frequencies, making it impossible for the Harvester Collective to suppress. Objection. The Harvester representative, a towering figure in ceremonial armor, stepped forward. These are merely automated responses, programmed behaviors of specimens too young to dash. He was cut off by a new pattern of light as Nova deliberately recreated his own words in crystalline form, then rearranged them into a complex proof disproving his statement. A murmur of astonishment rippled through the council chamber. Meanwhile, aboard the Stellar Horizon, Zara coordinated their defense against the Harvester fleet. Shields at 60% and holding, she reported through their secure channel. The Sylph reinforcements are keeping them occupied, but they're still trying to push through. Kai's voice joined the channel from the secure bunker below. The infants are stable, but their energy output is increasing. They're responding to the threat. In the council chamber, Ambassador Clara's multidimensional form shifted through various states as she addressed her peers. The Sylph Confederation formally recognizes the Lumini infants as the legitimate heirs to their civilization's legacy. Their right to exist freely is protected under Article 7 of the Sentient Species Protection Act. The Harvester representative's armor clicked as he turned to face her. The collective contests this recognition. These specimens were abandoned, making them salvage under dash. They weren't abandoned, Aria interrupted, her voice sharp. They were saved. By their parents, their protectors, who gave their lives to preserve not just 3 children, but the entire cultural and scientific legacy of their species. Nova's light pattern suddenly expanded, filling the chamber with a 3-dimensional star map. Points of light connected, showing the systematic destruction of Lumini colonies over the past decade. The pattern then shifted, revealing documentary evidence of Harvester involvement in each incident. The council chamber erupted in chaos. The Harvester representative's hand moved toward a concealed weapon, but before he could reach it, his form was frozen in place by Clara's multidimensional intervention. The collective declares this evidence inadmissible, he snarled. These are internal security matters dash. These are acts of genocide, Aria countered. And the evidence isn't coming from us. It's coming directly from the Lumini archives, preserved within the infants themselves. Every attack, every collection, every world stripped of its crystal cities, they recorded it all. Back on Europa, the battle intensified. A Harvester breaching pod punctured the outer defenses, sending troops into the facility. Zara's cybernetic systems interfaced directly with the station's security grid, coordinating their remaining defenders. "Commander," Iris's voice was urgent in Aria's ear, "we have multiple breaches. They're heading for the secure levels." Aria kept her expression neutral as she addressed the Council. "Right now, the Harvester Collective is attacking a protected research facility in Council space, attempting to seize recognized sentient beings by force. I formally request immediate intervention under the emergency protection protocols." The Council's chief arbiter, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental suit, rose from their central position. "Evidence of both historic genocide and current aggressive action has been presented and verified. The Council will vote dash." They never finished the sentence. The chamber's security systems flared as multiple Harvester agents revealed themselves, weapons appearing from concealed positions. The Harvester representative's frozen form finally broke free of Tlara's hold. "If the Council won't protect our interests," he declared, "we will protect them ourselves. The Lumini specimens will be collected, and their archives will be properly preserved." In that moment, everything changed. Nova's light pattern, still being broadcast across the galaxy, shifted into something entirely new. The other two infants joined in, their combined energy creating a display that made even Tlara's multidimensional senses recoil. Through their secure channel, Kai's voice was filled with awe. "Commander, you need to see this. They're crystalline structures, they're not just storing information. They're processing it, evolving it. They're not just archives of their civilization. They're its next phase." On every screen, in every chamber, across every frequency, the three Lumini infants began to show not just what they had preserved, but what they could become. It was a declaration not of survival, but of transformation. And in that moment, as weapons were drawn in the Council chamber and battles raged through the solar system, Aria Phoenix realized that she hadn't just been protecting the last remnants of a dying species. She had been safeguarding its rebirth. The breaking point had been reached. Now it was time to see what would emerge from the shattered pieces. The battle for Europa ended not with weapons, but with light. As Harvester forces breached the final defenses of the underground facility, the three Lumini infants made their decision. Nova, flanked by its siblings, initiated a transformation that no one had predicted, not even the ancient archives they carried within them. "Energy readings are off the scale," Kai reported from behind his failing shields. "Their crystalline structures are. Commander, they're not just growing. They're evolving." Commander Aria Phoenix watched through the facility's cameras as the growth chamber filled with light so intense that even the reinforced barriers could barely contain it. The Harvester troops that had fought their way into the chamber found themselves frozen in place, their weapons and armor suddenly transparent, revealing the stunned organic beings within. "This is impossible," the Harvester commander's voice crackled through the general frequency. "Our intelligence indicated they were mere infants, incapable of dash." "Your intelligence," Aria interrupted, "was based on what the Lumini wanted you to believe. For centuries, you thought you were collecting specimens of a dying race. You never realized you were being observed, studied, your weaknesses catalogued by the very beings you thought you were hunting." In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Tlara's multidimensional form expanded as she processed the new data streaming from Europa. "The Lumini weren't dying," she announced to the stunned assembly. "They were transcending. These infants weren't refugees, they were seeds." The light from the chamber intensified, and with it came understanding. The Lumini had never been simply crystalline beings storing information. They were information, pure consciousness evolved beyond organic and synthetic forms, using crystalline structures as temporary anchors in the physical world. Nova and its siblings had contained not just the archives of their civilization, but its next evolutionary step. Every specimen the Harvesters had collected over the centuries had been part of a vast, patient plan, gathering data on those who would exploit them, waiting for the right moment, and the right allies, to emerge. Through the facility's cameras, Arya watched as the three young Lumini began to transform. Their crystalline forms expanded, growing more complex, more beautiful, until they filled the chamber with structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. The Harvester troops remained frozen, their weapons and armor now completely transmuted into pure crystal. By the authority of the Galactic Council, the Chief Arbiter's voice rang out across all frequencies, this facility and all Lumini within it are hereby placed under absolute protection. Any further aggressive action will be considered an act of war against the Council itself. But the Harvesters were no longer in any position to argue. Their entire assault force stood transformed, their organic forms unharmed but their technology and weapons transmuted into crystalline art pieces that would later become exhibits in the galaxy's greatest museums, a reminder of the day everything changed. In the growth chamber, Nova's new form pulsed with a gentle light as it communicated directly with Arya's mind. The sensation was like stepping into a library where every book was alive, every piece of knowledge connected to every other in an infinite web of understanding. "They want to show us something," Arya said softly, her voice carrying to the council chamber through their still active connection. "They're offering us a choice." Through Nova, the Lumini shared their vision, a future where knowledge wasn't hoarded or stolen but shared freely across the galaxy. Their crystalline technology could transform barren worlds into gardens, turn weapons into works of art, and bridge the gaps between organic and synthetic life. But only if they were allowed to grow, to teach, to transform in their own way and time. The Harvester Collective's representative, his ceremonial armor now a shimmering crystal sculpture, finally understood what his organization had actually been hunting all these years. Not rare specimens, but the next stage of galactic evolution. Ambassador Clara moved through multiple dimensions as she processed the implications. The Sylph Confederation proposes the immediate establishment of a new galactic charter, she announced. One that recognizes the Lumini not as subjects to be protected, but as teachers to guide us all toward a more enlightened future. In the weeks that followed, Europa was transformed into the first of many Lumini gardens, centers of learning where beings from across the galaxy could come to study, grow, and possibly even evolve. The Harvester Collective, its true nature exposed and its leadership transformed by their encounter with the Lumini, underwent its own revolution, its vast resources turned toward preservation and protection rather than exploitation. Commander Arya Phoenix remained at the heart of it all, no longer a guardian but a student, watching as Nova and its siblings taught the galaxy that true power lay not in collecting knowledge, but in sharing it. The stellar horizon became a permanent fixture in Europa's orbit, a reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from seeking specimens to study, but from choosing to protect what others would destroy. And in the crystalline gardens that began to spread across the galaxy, new forms of life and consciousness emerged, each adding their own light to the growing constellation of shared wisdom. The age of collection had ended. The age of transformation had begun. For in the end, it wasn't humanity's strength or cunning that had changed the galaxy, but their capacity to recognize consciousness in unexpected forms, and their willingness to protect it even at the cost of their own safety. In doing so, they had helped catalyze not just the survival of a species, but the evolution of all species towards something greater than any one civilization could have achieved alone. The light of that transformation would continue to spread across the galaxy for generations to come, a legacy born from a single choice to protect rather than possess, to nurture rather than collect, to trust in the possibility that even the smallest lights could contain the greatest wonders.